go to a higher level, a very useful quote. And today's editorial is a very useful editorial. You may get as a passage related to this. After the session, try to read once or twice an important editorial. What is this editorial about? It is about the vision for India 2047. They want to make India a developed country. Right now, India is what? A developing country. They want to make it a developed country by 2047. There's a blueprint for that. There's a roadmap for that. Very important editorial. Let us start with the tone of the editorial. The tone of the editorial is mostly positive and forward-looking. Obviously, 2047, forward-looking. Now we'll go to the vocabulary part. What is the first word here? I think I told many a time. Whenever you think of the word vice, you have to think of virtue. Virtue, you have to think of vice. They go hand in hand. What is the meaning of the word virtue? Please write the meaning, those who don't know. First you write the word in the plural form. Virtues means good habits. Then you write the word vices. Vices means bad habits or bad qualities. Good qualities, bad qualities. And when we talk about a person, we talk about his virtues and vices. Have you got the meaning? And this says a plan is extremely useful for the country, a virtue. A good or admirable quality. Underline the word admirable. Admire means what? A respect, like, and keep someone at a higher place. I admire him. You got the meaning? Blueprint, an important word. Tomorrow you take up the job. At the workplace, you may come across two words. When you think of the growth of the bank or organization, two words are inevitable. One, the blueprint, the other one, the roadmap. So blueprint means what? A complete plan that explains how to do or develop something. How to do or develop something. The plan is called a blueprint. But the literal meaning, imagine there is a building. You want to construct a building or a house. Then there is a plan. That is also called a blueprint. Literal meaning. But here a different meaning altogether. I hope you got it. And what is the next word here? Unveil. An important word we have got many a time. To make something public or show or announce publicly for the first time. Unveil a policy, unveil a product. These are the combinations. Please write the combinations. One combination, policy. P-O-L-I-C-Y. Another combination, product. P-R-O-D-U-C-T. Announce a policy for the first time, show a product for the first time. As I said, roadmap, put a star mark, blueprint, a roadmap, important words. Part of speech, noun, a plan or strategy intended to achieve a particular goal. You have a goal, you all have a goal. The million-dollar question, do you have the roadmap? How many of you say, yes, sir? You should have a roadmap. Roadmap means what? A plan or a strategy to achieve your dream, your goal. Next one I use quite often. What is the next one here? Brainstorm. When I took classes, morning also I was studying one student. I took classes descriptive English. I told students, when you read the question to write an essay, you have to focus on the key words. Then you have to go for brainstorming session. Means what? Here different meaning. Generally brainstorming means you sit and whatever comes to your mind, you make a note. You don't stop your ideas. That is the first session. Second round, you keep what is relevant, you remove what is not relevant. And whatever is relevant, let's say you got 10 points. You shape them. You develop those points into paragraphs. This goes with descriptive English. But when you go to the workplace, top people, top brass of a company or an organization, whenever there is a problem, they go for a brainstorming session. Now look at the meaning. What does it mean? Hold a group discussion to produce ideas or, write one more word, solutions. Brainstorming sessions are for solutions. You want a solution, then 10 people sit, they go for a brainstorming session. They make a note, whatever comes up. They don't stop. And finally, they select the best idea they try to implement. And this goes with the workplace. 3 words you have to remember: blueprint, a roadmap, brainstorming sessions. The next one actually goes with, write the combination, drivers while driving, especially four-wheeler. Please write blind spots next to it, write the word driver. Car driver, vehicle driver. An area where a person's view is obstructed, blocked. When we drive a four-wheeler, from the right, actually here we sit this side. So sometimes what happens, someone comes from this direction. The driver cannot see. That is known as a blind spot. There's a particular angle we cannot guess also. That spot is called blind spot. It obstructs the driver's view. But in this context, something that stops your plan or your vision or your dream. Hue goes with colors. Part of speech, noun. A color or shade. Underline the word shade. Hues of red means what? Shades of red. Hues of yellow. Shades of yellow. Blips, it goes with technology actually. An unexpected, minor and typically temporary deviation from a general trend. Blip means something like going off the track. Deviate, one word. Hark back, a phrasal verb, important one, put a star mark. Mention or remember something from the past, or go back to the past, think of the past, hark back, important one. Hasten means what? Be quick to do something. But hasten has a negative connotation as well as a positive connotation. It means, write the expression, 2 words you have to recollect. One is speed up. What is the first one here? Speed up. Speed up something. Everyone knows speed up, simple. But you have to know the word expedite. Expedite is an important word. It should be at your fingertips. Expedite means speed up. Same meaning. What is the next word here? Abandon. We have got a few times. An important word. Abandon means to leave someone, stop supporting someone, cease to support or look after someone. But underline the word desert. Desert, here, is it a noun or a verb? You have to respond immediately. Generally, it is a noun or a verb. It's a noun. But in this context, what is it? Verb. Please write. In this context, it means not leave someone when the person is in distress or in trouble. Imagine someone is in trouble and the family has to support. Yes or no? The family does not support. Then what do you say? The family has abandoned that person. Abandon means leave. Sometimes you go to a village, your vehicle gets spoiled, there is no mechanic. Then what do? You abandon your vehicle in the village. You leave the village, you leave the vehicle over there. I hope you got the 2 combinations. We'll go to the next word. What is the next word here? Underline the second word in this. You see how many words? 1 or 2? Please respond. 2 words. What is the second word here? Put a star mark. Many people say swan. No, swan. How do you pronounce this? Swan. But generally what people say, black swan, not correct. Black swan. It's a bird you all know. What is the Telugu word for that? Okay. Anyhow, here what is the meaning? An unpredictable or unforeseen event, typically one with extreme consequences. A negative incident, a negative event with extreme consequences, black swan. Usually we don't use this. This is for the first time I have come across. Very important, difficult to guess. So put a star mark. Black swan, idiomatic expression. Not easy to guess. Shall I go to the next one? Laudable, we have got many a time. Means what? Deserving praise. You should also write the word praiseworthy. What is it? Praiseworthy. Laudable takes the word efforts. Laudable efforts. Praiseworthy efforts. But you have to recollect another word. Commendable. Commendable takes words like work and also job. Commendable work, commendable job. There also it means the same, praiseworthy. All these words are very important. Shall I go back to the editorial? What is the next one? Warrant. We all know arrest warrant. There, is it a noun or a verb? Noun. But here, is it a verb or a noun? Verb. As a verb, what does it mean? To make a particular activity necessary. The situation demands, please write the word demand. The situation demands immediate action. You can understand. Because the word demand is easy to, everyone knows. For the same idea, you can also say the situation warrants immediate action. Means what? Demands immediate action. An important word. These are the words from today's editorial. Now let us go to the editorial and see. See, initially I would underline, I would bring the words in bold. Now you got used to that style. You should do it on your own when I read out. That should not be a problem. I hope you can do that. Virtues of planning. Planning is always a good thing. Before you do something, what is a prerequisite? Write the word prerequisite. Have you heard of this? Prerequisite means something you need beforehand. If you want to go to the US, what is a prerequisite? You should be able to converse in English. If you want to go to France, what is a prerequisite? You should know French language. You need something beforehand, prerequisite. So when you want success, planning is a prerequisite. And based on that, it starts with virtues of planning. Means good aspects of planning. And what is this related to? On the Vision India at 2047 plan. A grand plan. All youngsters, you may be the part of that plan. So an important one, taking the country to a different level altogether. But what is the main idea of this editorial? The blueprint, again, you please underline, though you have got the words, if you underline, it helps in consolidation. The blueprint to develop India by 2047 must, underline the helping of must. We got yesterday also, what are the two functions of must? One is a personal obligation. The other one, to convey the idea something is compulsory. Must also underline factor in one unit. Above that or below that, write the meaning consider. Factor in means consider. The blueprint to develop India by 2047 must factor in, must consider what? Critical governance reforms. They must consider critical means important governance reforms. How does it start? In early 2024, that is next year, maybe Jan, Feb, March, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to unveil, make public, a roadmap to transform the country into a developed nation with a 30 trillion US dollars, not Indian rupees, economy by the time it completes 100 years of independence. Here please underline developed nation. Also underline by the time it completes. There are two things you have to know. Generally, when we talk about India, we refer to India as a developing country. We also use the term, we say India is a third world country. Have you heard of this? Then you should wonder what is a first world, what is a second world, why India is called a third world country. If you take the first world, what comes under first world? Industrially developed capitalist countries. Industrially developed capitalist countries like the US, the UK, France, all these belong to the first world. Industrial revolution took place over there. What comes under second world? Industrially developed communist countries, former USSR and many Eastern European countries come under the second world. What comes under third world? Either developing or underdeveloped socialist countries. Industrially developing or underdeveloped socialist countries. What is a socialist country? In the first world, private sector is the most important thing. In the second world, public sector is the most important thing. In the third world, it's a combination of public sector and private sector. For example, if you take banks, you have banks in the public sector, you have banks in the private sector. So it's a combination of the two. And these countries are usually Latin American countries, African countries, Southeast Asian countries, either developing or underdeveloped. Now you got the meaning of the word third world. Fine. So we want to change that perception and transform the country, change the country into a developed nation with US 30 trillion economy by the time it completes. Why did I ask you to underline by the time it completes? By the time, that is what you have to. Write one sentence. I will complete the construction of the house by 2025. I will complete the construction of the house by 2025. Answer my question, is this sentence right or wrong? Underline the time phrase by 2025. Here I can also say, by the time he returns, by the time she returns. It is wrong, mark it wrong. Here we cannot use present or future any tense other than future perfect tense. So what is the correct sentence? I will have completed. They have given in many competitive exams. I will have completed the construction of the house by 2025. Will have completed. Right next to the sentence, future perfect tense. Future perfect tense. Then comes a question, when do we use future perfect? By a given time in future, some action will be over, then we should use future perfect tense. Here context talks about the same, but the sentence is in which tense? Developed nation with whatever it is, by the time it completes, underline it completes. These are patterns. Sometimes you may come across a new pattern. Based on the context, it may be right, it may not be right. Always look at the context. Context is very important. The Vision India at 2047 plan, as it is officially named, has been in the works. I hope you have underlined has been. Which tense is that? Present perfect, active voice or passive voice? Active voice. Active voice, please. Has been in the works. After been, if you see the verb in past participle form, then it is passive voice. But after been, what do you see? In the works, you see a prepositional phrase. Has been in the works for nearly 2 years with officials across ministries brainstorming. Means group discussions and thinking, meetings on how to take the country from its current level of development to where it aspires to be. Please underline the word where it aspires to be. And above or below you write the word where it dreams to be. Dreams, aspire, dream, wishes. All these words can be used with that pattern. I hope you understand the meaning of this sentence. Next one talks about who is doing this behind the doors. The Niti Aayog, you all know that? The Niti Aayog, in the process of giving this vision document a final shape. Niti Aayog is going to play a crucial role. It is going to give the final shape to the document. Will soon run its central ideas and goals past top minds across sectors, including World Bank President Ajay Banga, Apple Chief Tim Cook, as well as Indian industrialists and thought leaders, underline thought leaders, also underline past top minds across sectors. Please underline those words. Past top minds across sectors, to fine-tune them and factor in any blind spots, consider any blind spots. What do you understand from this? There is a plan, there is a vision, and Niti Aayog is working behind. But before coming up with the final report or the vision, they want to give it to others, experts, and take the feedback and make sure everything is going to be in place so that we get success. And it is going to present this to different people who represent different sectors. There is one nice expression here, past top minds across sectors. What do you understand from that? Generally what happens, imagine there is a person here and there is a building here. He walked in front of the building from this place to this place. Do you understand? I hope you can make out. This building from that side, someone crossed the building. Generally what do you say? He crossed the building. Easy to understand, yes or no? But native speakers don't say that. They say, write this sentence, he went past the building. He went past the building. We say he crossed the building. Native speakers don't say that. He went past the building. So here he talks about taking the vision past the top minds, means what? Presenting them the vision and taking the feedback. I hope you got the meaning. Yes, sir. Please respond for God's sake. And it also, I told you to underline something else. What is that? Here, top minds across sectors and also thought leaders. The other day I used one word. Who are these thought leaders? In every country we come across intellectuals of the highest order. Who is an intellectual? You are all intellectuals. Intellectual means a learned person. Any graduate, any postgraduate, you can say an intellectual. You all have a lot of knowledge. Beyond any doubt, intellectual. But the degree varies from person to person. In any country, we have the top intellectuals, the best brains in the country. For those people, we have a particular word. And whenever there's an important thing like this, a Vision 2047, the government consults those people, the group of top intellectuals. What is the word for those people? Write the word intelligentsia. I gave this word, I remember, last week, when I don't remember, intelligentsia of the country. Write the complete expression. They are going to present this vision to the intelligentsia of the country. Means all the intelligent people of the country. I hope you got the meaning now. Have you written? Intelligentsia of the country. We'll go back. So it is going to present, and who are the people? One is the World Bank President, the other one Apple Chief Tim Cook, and also industrialists, obviously, and thought leaders. Why should they present? To fine-tune, underline fine-tune, to give it the final shape and factor in any blind spots, consider any blind spots. Sometimes what happens, we think we have checked everything. And when you show it to someone, he may point out something. That is called a blind spot. Have you got the meaning? Then we'll go back to, it talks about, I think, political dimension. Coming ahead of the Lok Sabha election. When are the Lok Sabha elections? 2024, right? Coming ahead of means before the Lok Sabha election. The plan may well be viewed as a government's policy playbook promise for prospective voters. Underline playbook promise for prospective voters. Usually, incumbent government or the current regime or the opposition party, before the elections, they come up with the manifesto. You all know the word manifesto. In that, they promise a lot. And opposition, they don't have any advantage as such. They have to present something. But if you take the current regime, the regime or the incumbent government, they have one advantage. Before elections, they can do certain nice things overnight and impress neutral voters, and they can get back to power. So there's one angle to look at this. Actually, it's a very noble idea, good idea. India 2047, but element of suspicion. What is that? Presenting this before elections, there's a political dimension. To think that way, there's every possibility. The sentence talks about that. Coming ahead of the Lok Sabha election, the plan may well be viewed, there's a possibility, as the government's policy playbook promise for the prospective voters. I use the expression for you people, prospective bankers, prospective government officials. Means what? Is the mic on? Please respond. You are all prospective bankers, prospective government officials. Means what? There is every possibility for you to become a bank officer in future. Potential. Prospective means what? Potential. Prospective voters, but irrespective of electoral outcomes, future governments would do well to keep an earnest outlook towards a broad agenda. Whatever the election result, irrespective of election results, the future governments, imagine next time BJP does not come into power, Congress may come into power, whatever the party, whatever the government, they should keep an eye on this vision and make sure it goes in the right direction and it is implemented. That is the idea of the sentence. Irrespective of electoral outcomes, future governments would do well to keep an earnest outlook. Earnest means sincere. Write the meaning of the word earnest. Sincere outlook towards a broad agenda. Agenda, underline the word agenda. Generally, it goes with a meeting. When you go to a meeting, the first question, what is the agenda? Means a list of things to be discussed. I hope you have written the meaning of that word. India's rise from, underline the word rise. I think yesterday also we discussed rise, raise, every time you have to. India's rise from 1991, when it accounted for 1.1% of the global economic output, to the 3.5% share it now commands as the world's fifth largest economy, has been driven, underline has been driven. Which tense is that? Active voice or passive voice? Here passive voice. Has been driven by what? See, there is a rapid progress. 1991, I remember way back in 90s, they predicted, the world predicted, the Economist magazine, I remember reading, they predicted two countries to become the superpowers. One China, the other India. But China took the lead. You all know that. It became the manufacturing hub of the world. Now India is going to become the manufacturing hub of the world. And now India is in a good position. Sooner or later, it is going to be a superpower. It is going to occupy the top position. Here, from 1.1% to 3.5%, phenomenal growth. Because of what? The world's fifth largest economy, how could it become, has been driven by governments of varying political hues, or here means what? Different political parties, largely sticking to the reform and liberalization agenda. When did this start actually? Liberalization, does anyone remember? During the regime of Rajiv Gandhi. And initially who was a prime minister, during the regime of P.V. Narasimha Rao. P.V. Narasimha Rao was the prime minister and Manmohan Singh was the finance minister. These two people initiated the liberalization. That was the first step. Because of that, India could transform, and today we see a lot of progress. Later what happened? Manmohan Singh became the prime minister. He continued with the policies. And other governments also same track. So the growth, it talks about that. Blips in the pace. Blip means what? Something like a slip or going off the track. Deviation. Pace, underline the word pace. Pace means the speed. Blips in the pace and vigor. Vigor means strength. Blips in the pace and vigor of reforms have also been visible across governments, including the present coalition independent regime. Now, BJP is any coalition or independent? Independent. Coalition independent regime. That means the current BJP regime, not based on coalition, coalition independent regime, visible across the governments, including the present coalition independent regime, especially on the trickier changes needed in factor markets such as land and labor. So two areas are important. One is land, the other one is labor. And they have been continuing with the same tradition. They have been on the same track, irrespective of the party, irrespective of the regime. Because of that, today India could achieve, it has been in the position it could achieve in a short span of how many decades? 91 to 2023, how many decades? You should answer. 3 decades. So that is a phenomenal thing. Second part of the editorial, the final plan should have some ideas to help navigate such challenging reforms and ensure policy certainty for global investors keen to bet on India's growth story. Now, what happens if there's no consistency? Different governments, different times, they keep bringing in new reforms and they discard some reforms. Global investors will become wary. They start doubting, they start suspecting. If consistency is there, global investors will definitely come forward to invest in the country. The sentence talks about that. Minimizing the government's role to that of an enabler rather than a micromanager. They should be facilitators and make things happen. They should not be micromanagers. Here's another detail that would be critical, important, especially as some recent decisions are marked a hark back to the habits of the past. Underline hark back. Means what? Going back to the habits of the past. Not a good thing. The sentence talks about they have to be enablers, facilitators, instead of being micromanagers. And one more dimension the sentence talks about. Another detail that would be critical, important. What is that? Especially as some recent decisions have marked a hark back to habits of the past. So that should not happen. They should not go back to the past. They have to look forward. Be it production-linked incentives, import licensing, or overtly zealous taxation. So these have to be considered and they should be on the right track. A stated focus area of the vision document that splices in its action points and outcome goals into 2 periods. So this talks about the approach they are going to take to make this a reality. A stated focus area of the vision document that splices its action points and outcome goals into 2 periods. What are the 2 periods? One is 2030 and the 17-year period from then. 2030 plus 17, what is it? What is the year? Till 2047 is to ensure that India does not slip into a middle income trap a few years from now. If they don't split one vision too broad, there's every possibility you may not reach your goal. But you divide that into 2 periods, from now 2030, from 2030, 17 years, the chances are bright. That's what the sentence talks about. Underline the expression a few years from now. Also write one more expression, a few years down the line. A few years down the line. Down the line. At the time of the interview, they may ask you, where do you see yourself a few years from now? Or where do you see yourself a few years down the line? Or 5 years down the line? Then you should be able to answer. Shall I go back to the editorial? That requires hastening the long pursued structural shift in the economy from farms to factories and arresting a widening trend of income inequality. They should focus on 2 things. They have to long pursued structural shift in the economy from farms to factories. And the second dimension is what? Arresting a widening trend of income inequality. That is not a good thing for the country. While the 5-year plans have been abandoned, when we got independence initially, what was it? For progress, what was the vision? 5-year plans, you all know that. Now, do we have 5-year plans? They have been abandoned. Yes or no? So it talks about that. While the 5-year plans have been abandoned, present perfect passive voice, the 2047 plan must be revisited at suitable intervals to recalibrate, reassess goals based on evolving global trends and black swan events. So they should not simply have a vision and keep it aside. They have to review periodically or regularly and consider the global trends and also black swan events. Means what? Unforeseen negative events, they should visualize and take actions or precautions accordingly. Aiming for a high 9% growth, 9% is huge in my opinion. Aiming for a high 9% growth rate between 2030 and 2047 is laudable, appreciable, but factoring in, considering alternative scenarios, underline the word scenario. Scenario means a situation, alternative situations, and changing course when warranted, changing the direction when required, when demanded, is also advisable. Sometimes what happens, you have a vision, you take a particular path. This is your dream. But on the way you come across unforeseen events and or black swan events, then what are you supposed to do? You cannot blindly stick to the same path. You have to change the course, a little deviation here and there, but never lose the focus of your goal or dream. It ends on that particular note. A very useful editorial. Please read. And what do you see after that? Write about the editorial. I would like to ask the question, how many of you have been writing about the editorials? Please raise your hands. You guys never change. I would like to tell something. Yesterday, did you get any exercises? Today, have you got any exercises? You may not get for some time. You may ask why. I always see your response based on that I teach, regular or special, whatever. Because teaching should be flexible. We cannot take a particular stand and teach from that particular stand. We have heterogeneous groups. Imagine I go to a group where they're absolute beginners. I teach the way I teach advanced students. Does it work? No, I have to go down and teach from their point of view. Now, yesterday also I have been for quite some time. When I was asking the answers, you started responding. The number went up beyond any doubt, words or questions. But writing about the editorial, I don't think, who says, sir, I have been writing, raise your hands, regularly. Not in one student. What is the purpose of this? What do you see at the top of the handout? Please go to the first page and see what do you see there. Below the Hindu, what do you see? English proficiency for what? For prelims and mains. That means what? Here, two things are important, rather three things. One is mains reading comprehension skill and vocabulary. Every day you are provided with these two. And what is the third important factor that goes with mains? Descriptive paper. When it comes to descriptive paper, it is a deciding factor. I always tell students, descriptive English makes or breaks your selection. Usually we say this, when it comes to now, you can say wife or husband, things have changed. But in the past, the question, who is a wife? A wife is one who makes or breaks your life. Do you understand what I say? Now it could be a husband. Who is a husband? The one who makes or breaks your life. But here coming to your mains exam, writing makes all the difference. Are we writers? Answer my question. Is English your mother tongue? Then you got to spend time or not? You got to practice or not? And every day I'm providing an opportunity to you people. You listen to me, you listen to the analysis, you get the words and value addition. With that, easy to write or difficult to write? Easy to write, on your own not possible. But after the session, easy to write in your own sentences. But almost 4 months are over. I started on July 10th. This month 10th, 4 months. You haven't written till date. Can it be justified? No. Please do that. Otherwise the purpose is defeated. If you come only for practice questions, already you take mock tests. What do you have there? Practice questions. Now you have Super 150. What do you have there? Practice questions. How many times do you want to practice? Now what will happen, I will tell you. You attend all the sessions. A regular class, you have exercise, there you practice. Mock tests, what do you do? Practice. Super 150, what do you do? Practice. You are working on multiple choice questions all the time. Multiple choice questions anyone can do, majority can do. What are the difficult areas for majority of the candidates? One is writing skill. The other one obviously mains. Mains, what do you have? A reading comprehension skill and vocab. And writing, where does it help? Descriptive English. These sessions are for those dimensions. Do you understand what I say? And if you don't focus on these three, you focus on these, you're again falling in the trap and wasting your time. Let's say 3 times error location. Does it make any sense? You are good at grammar, you know all the rules. One day, 5 questions enough. How many questions do you want to practice? It is sheer waste of time. You keep doing that, then what happens? You are not good at mains. Mains point of view, are not prepared, and you are not a good writer, and you clear your prelims. What are the chances to clear mains? If you don't focus on these 3, the chances are bright or bleak. Please answer. Bleak. That should not happen. Then why should we spend so much time? I appreciate you guys. There's only batch where the numbers are consistent. 180 plus. Today I don't know how many. So usually we get 180 plus. That's a very good thing. Only batch I can say 180 plus and consistent. Highly appreciable, highly admirable. But if you don't do what you're supposed to do, the purpose is defeated. Do you understand? So my request, you can take it that way. Please spend some time on writing about the editorial. Right or wrong, least bothered. Initially you cannot write, struggle, give it a try. And you may make mistakes, don't worry. Slowly you develop the skill. That will help in the long run. Now we'll go to the questions based on comprehension. Read the first one. What is the primary focus of the Vision India 2047 plan as discussed in the editorial? Is it reducing government intervention, increasing income inequality, maintaining the status quo? Please underline status quo, means same situation. Transforming India into a developed nation with a US 30 trillion economy. Answer is the 4th option. What does the editorial suggest about the role of the government in the Vision India 2047 plan? Micromanage, it should act as an enabler, it should increase taxation, it should maintain the status quo. It clearly says it should act as an enabler, not as a micromanager. So what is the answer here? B is the answer. To prevent India from slipping into a middle income trap, what structured shift is mentioned in the editorial? Shift from what to what? A shift from farms to factories. Answer is C. Is it industry to agriculture? It is like going back. From services to agriculture, going back, reverse direction. Factories to farms, reverse direction. Answer is farms to factories. What is the backbone of Indian economy? You all know agriculture. But if you take developed countries, what is the backbone? Industries. And which industry? Manufacturing industry. Any country that is very strong when it comes to manufacturing becomes a world leader. Today, India is also one of the top players when it comes to service industries, especially IT. But in the field of IT, do we produce a software or do we provide the service to the software makers? We are service providers. Infosys, TCS, Wipro, all these are service providers. But we have to be the producers of the software. Then we become the world leaders. Today, if you take artificial intelligence, which country is a leading country? the US, they have the advantage, obviously. So farms to factories, manufacturing. According to the editorial, what should be revisited at suitable intervals in the Vision India 2047 plan? Tax rates, government spending, the plan itself, international trade agreement, the plan itself. You have a plan, you have to visit at regular intervals to make sure everything is going in the right direction. What is the suggested growth rate between 2030 and 2047? 9%, very high. So for some time, if you are coming for exercises, you may be disappointed. But that is at the lower level. You want to be at the lower level or higher level. Raise your standards. Then I will bring questions accordingly. Write about the editorial. Some more questions that go with mains level. Be prepared for that. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.